All right, welcome back again to another episode of the Cursewords and Cursive podcast. We're entering season 3 with our first guest. I am here. My name's Ryan. I am your host, and we thank you again for joining us for season 3. Season 3, we already zoomed past season 2.
Oh, yes, we did. It was quick.
And yeah.
I tried to say quick and fast at the same time.
It's just the excitement of
It's
jumping
quack.
into a new season, you know.
Yes, it is.
Okay, but this is my co-host, Curly.
Hey.
I'm sure you guys all know.
By now, hopefully.
By now,
Yes.
hopefully, 12 episodes later.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
whole season later.
Absolutely. But we have a very special guest joining us today. You want to introduce yourself, good sir?
My name's Thomas Hinds. I'm originally from Farmington.
Yes,
so
yeah. What's up, Thomas Hinds?
just running ragged, man. How about you?
Oh, busy, as always.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. A little tiring, but it's good. Yeah, thank you for coming in and joining us on our podcast.
Oh, it was my pleasure, man.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to this.
Yeah, we were too. We had you on the list from the very beginning. Like, oh man.
Well,
But,
thanks. Yeah, that's a huge compliment.
Yeah. So, let's just get right into it.
Let's do it.
When did you start kicking into your music a lot more to where you started writing your own stuff and taking things a lot more seriously?
Looking back now, I can see the progress of me like woodshedding that summer, and then working my way into doing the open mic, and then like I think it was about a year and a half into the open mics, I started. I used to go to Applebee's all the time.
Yeah.
And they were looking for somebody to play music there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was the only one that would take a check. That's the only reason I got that gig was because everybody else wanted cash.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, I can do it because, I've listened to the demo that I give them, and it's not very good. I'm like, there's no reason you should have had me playing here at that point in time. But that was part of the journey of, like, learning how to play in front of people, and it's you on a tightrope, man. It's like there ain't nobody else there. You're going to crash and burn or you're going to make it.
Yeah.
And so you stumble some, but you end up learning what not to do and keep doing more of what you can do and strengths, and it just builds and the confidence makes it. And then I played there for 4.5 years every Friday night, and then it was incalculable on how much that influenced and helped me grow. And so kind of like right after that, that's right when that was ending was when my first album was made. So it was like I got the confidence to make an album. It came out right when they were all like, well, we can't afford music anymore. So, and then it was like I started playing at KB Dillon's and some different, and Clancy's and, some places around here. And then there was the Highway Grill. In
Aztec.
Yeah. So I played there sometimes, and it just turned into where like, okay, now I'm going to start expanding out and playing more places and building a repertoire with other venues, and because there's always different people hanging out at the different ones, So,
Yeah.
and that was I think that was really the point of, okay, I'm going to game plan. I had kids that weren't quite out of high school, so I couldn't leave yet.
Yeah.
But I was going to try to get all the equipment I would need to be on the road, and then just accumulate the woodshedding at KB Dillon's or wherever I'm playing. And then we put in 2015, I joined Those Devils on bass because they were looking for a bass player, and that was a very short-lived band. But when I joined, it was like they'd been around a long time, and because do you remember Dustin and Kellen used to play? They were Those Devils, and they were the two of them.
Yeah.
And so they made a full band out of it. And actually, Brandon Crandall from Rexall Rangers, he was in that band for a little while too. And so I joined, and then it was like, maybe 2 months, 3 months, and it was like just went by the way of the dodo, man. It was
Yeah.
Came to the end of where my kids were fixing to graduate, my last one, and I was like going to put my 2 weeks notice in at work. And by the end of the year, I was going to figure out where I was going to go and just hit the road. And I ended up meeting somebody that was fixing to do like a little small acoustic tour in January. And I was like, sign me up. And then right after I made that a commitment, I found out the place I was working was getting bought out. And so the severance package and all that stuff came around at the end of November. So I was out of that job by the first week of December. I had the December to get everything organized and ready. And then I just hit the road right after that. It was crazy,
awesome.
man. Yeah, it was.
Oh, it really worked out.
Yeah, yeah, it was wild. I mean, everything that just, and I just took it as a sign, and it's been like that, doors opening up that I wouldn't think would open up. And then, of course, like when in probably April of 20, I was, everybody was like, well, what the hell are we going to be doing now, kind of thing,
Yeah.
And I had this little voice in my head that was like, maybe you ought to go try to get a job at Home Depot because it's going to be a rough one. You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, but all these doors have opened up. All these things have happened. I can't say that that's just happenstance, and it's not really meant that I'm supposed to go this direction. And so we move. I just was like, you work on what you can work on while you're home, because I'm not home that much if I'm playing out.
Yeah.
So it was like, work on being a better guitar player, work on your vocals, work on songwriting, hone the craft, everything that you do, make a better version of you by the time this is all done. And when the doors started back kind of opening up in June, it just turned into, it was like that end of that year was crazy. It made up for what I missed plus some. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise, because I got to sit back and really, work on what I needed to do that I wouldn't have had time if I was playing so much.
Yeah.
Nice. That's good. Yeah. So you made something positive out of it, right?
Exactly. And that's what I was trying to do, was have something positive. It's like, because there was so much. I mean, I had to finally turn off everything because it was so negative. You can't only take so much of that, and then you start like, now you're neurotic about everything. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
So I'm just going to take a step back and not do this. And that's when I really just kind of put myself back in the woodshed and just starting over a little bit,
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it easier to focus on yourself a little bit?
Yeah, because it was just me at the house for quite a while. And then my daughter and my son moved out for a little while. My son still lives out there, but for that time it was just me. And it was like, you get up, and the thing is like, it's real easy to just not do anything. All of a sudden you're like killing time on Netflix or whatever.
Yeah.
And then so then it's like your day. Next thing you know, it's like the sun's going down. What the heck, man?
What did I do all day?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I get up, I make breakfast, cup of coffee or 2 or 3 or 5, whatever I need, and then it's like I'm sitting on the couch and I get the laptop out and I start working on the things I can work on, and then get the guitar out, play on some songs, and start adding to the things that I've been working on, and adding more, some fresh covers for me, because it's like I play at these different places and nobody's heard any of these songs I've played before, but I have. It's like, if I have to listen to the song 5,000 times, it's like I need to do something fresh and kind of keep it going that way for me.
Switch it up. Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
That's really awesome. So how many, have you played around like all the bars in town, or?
Yeah, there's like 3 or 4. There's one I've only done open mic there, that's how most of the places there, that's how you get your gig. You go to open mic, and then they can see that, okay, this guy's not just some clown that just walked in from wherever. It's like he can actually hold his own. So then you play your songs, and then they book you. The one that I like to play at is Six's Tavern, and but it's more of a country bar. And I don't know if I could open up for like a band maybe or something like that. But
Yeah.
because I'm not like straight up country. I mean, there's a little. I call it Americana, like a blues based Americana.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Okay.
more because everything I do is really more blues based than.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you played at Traeger's at all?
Yes. And,
Just kind of recently, right?
Yeah, the last time I was in town, I did, and that's actually they're the ones that were doing the renewal of vows this weekend that I went and played up at their deal up in
Heck
Purgatory.
yeah.
So yeah, Scott and Ruth they're like family. I mean, I love those guys. They've been, and the funny that you would point that one out, but before they got married, they would come into Applebee's. and their favorite song was Everlong by Foo Fighters.
Hey.
And that was one of the ones that I played, and that's one of the ones I loved more than. I mean, I would play that one if I could play it more than one time a night. I would do it back then.
I play that song a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a fun song, man. It's just a driving, just get it. But they kind of like took that on as their own. This is our song. They're as a couple kind of thing. And so like every time I saw them come in, the next song would be Everlong for them. You know what I mean? And it would just. We kind of got that repertoire going, and when I was taking a break, they would buy me a beer or whatever, and we'd sit there and talk, and just really got to know each other. And then when he opened up that, I didn't realize that that was him until I pulled in to play the first time there, and he comes out, and I'm all like, "What in the world? Oh, okay, now it makes sense," because he's talking to me like he knows me, and I'm like thinking, "How do I know this guy?" And then it's like, "Oh, now I know. Oh yeah, Scott, man, it's like that. These guys." So yeah, they've been really good to me, and like I said, it's like family when you're over there. They just really just embrace you like one of their own. Once I get that first melody of the line, my verses are pretty much written, and you know, because it's like, okay, this is how the progression goes. And then just finding where I can go on the chorus to not be exactly the same. You know what I mean? So it's like we got to have this transition here. But most of the time, that's what it is. I have written. Sometimes I'll just get a melody in my head and words, and so I'll use my voice note on my phone and just sing into that. And then I'm not very good at picking out notes, so it's like it takes me a lot longer to go. Like I'm singing this. Okay, what chord am I actually singing in here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that takes a lot longer. But the majority of the time, it's like, and some of my favorite songs, they're just magic. It's like 5-10 minutes and you got it out, and then of course the time of playing out with it and at home you're honing it, and so it does kind of, there's a metamorphosis to it, you know, and by the time you're done, sometimes it takes on a life. Like I had one favorite, Hello, I sang that the first time at Andrea Castina's, and I was sitting there at the house waiting to go to the open mic.
Yeah.
And I had just written one called Easy, and I was like, kind of went off of that and turned it into this other song. So I had 2 songs that night to play at the thing. And all the way up until we finished recording it on the first album, I played it that way. As soon as the record came out, I had this brainstorm or whatever, man, and all of a sudden I like changed the tempo to 6/8, added a third verse, and it like took on a whole nother life. And I'm all like, I wish I'd have done that like a month sooner. We could have like recorded this and put it on the album. But I did end up recording it with me and a mandolin and an acoustic in Santa Fe on the Bob Bouquet EP. Because I want everybody to hear the difference between the progress really of like where you first started your second project, you know, and then the third one was more of just like, I had all these acoustic songs, so I just went, and me and John O'Manson is the guy that had the studio down in, it's called the Kitchen Sink in Santa Fe.
Okay, I kind of heard of it, and I don't know much about it.
But John O was the guy that was behind the board on Blues Traveler's big album 4 that had like Run Around and all those hits that they had, and Hook and all that.
Yeah.
He was the guy that was behind the board on all that. And he still tours with John Popper when it's just John Popper, not Blues Traveler. Yeah. He's the one playing guitar usually with him on the tours and stuff like that. He's really been around he came out of New York, moved to Santa Fe, and I met him through a friend, was having a house show at their studio, and I was like, I'm fixing to start a project. I'd like to come in and do a couple songs, and he knew a guy that played mandolin. He used to play with like David Grisham and all these bluegrass cats, man. So he was like, he just listened to it one time and he was killing it. So I was like, yeah, this is the guy, you know.
So do you write songs just for like an acoustic sound, or do you also write songs for a whole band?
I am trying, that's one of the things I'm trying to grow and hear the other instruments and stuff. What I usually write, because it is acoustic based, and it's like, and I'm not Yngwie Malmsteen or anybody, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's going to be pretty, there's a lot of space in there for other instruments to play along with So, but I'm trying to learn, and that we're working on a new album now, and that's really where we're at. We're recording the demos, and we're like making lists of like, man, I hear like steel guitar on this, and I hear, like a violin or a cello or something, and just different things like that. And we're kind of making a note on the demo so that when we send it off, because we're going to try to work with we're not sure yet. We have a short list of producers that we'd like to work with.
Yeah.
And if they have time to put it in their schedule. And I just believe in my heart after all this that it's going to open up. You know what I mean? It's like the person that we're supposed to work with, that space, even if it turns out to be something crazy like, well, hey, we were going to schedule you for 6 months, but we had this opening. If you guys got a couple weeks, let's knock it out right there. And you know what I mean? It could be anything like that. I just don't even like question it anymore. If it's gonna happen, it's just gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just kind of going with it right now.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's good. It's good to go into things with like a neutral sort of mindset, right? Like sort of
Yeah, and that gives it room to, like I said, if there's other instruments that you give it some. And I've always been I've been more of a writer lyrically probably than even a musician, but it has melted into a really good thing in my mind. I feel like I got a solid, my own kind of thing. It doesn't really fit any, and I'm okay with not being in a box. You know what I mean? They're always trying to put you, especially the music business is always like, well, how can we package this into the next whatever? And it's like, nah, man, I don't want to be the next whatever. This is me.
Yeah.
And it's like, as long as you don't have to like sell your soul, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's crazy.
Do you feel like you're getting more creative as time goes on?
I feel like the songs have really grown and gotten a lot stronger than than if.
Than if at the very beginning.
Yeah.
That's good though.
Yeah, and I feel like as long as you're pushing yourself to learn different rhythms or learn whatever tricks and growing and even pushing my vocals to where they're not comfortable with, but just it's like any other muscle. The more you use it and you practice it correctly, your voice can go a lot further than you think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you ever take voice lessons or anything like that, or did you just start?
I never did until I was playing at Applebee's, and I was having I really took the lessons at the college because I wanted to learn how to breathe correctly, of like being able to sustain a note longer than I normally would, because I could never really figure it out. And so I took lessons, and it was cool too because you got to see the progress of somebody that knew what they were doing. They could show you how to do it. You went from this part of the piano to this part of the piano, and then by the end of it, you're, several octaves. And it's like, I would have never thought I could, and I didn't even have to go to a head voice to get that high end stuff like I was doing, because I was pulling off Benny and the Jets, but it was it was all head at the end. I can't do it right now, but like yeah.
The Cursewords in Cursive podcast, available on Spotify or wherever else you get your podcasts.